Increasingly, I've been talking about electric motorcycles on this channel. Only last week, Triumph announced a 2-year project to work with Williams F1 to develop their capabilities in this area. So given that this is the direction that the industry's moving in, I wanted to find out firsthand if what I'd read and heard about electric motorcycles was true. On the one hand, they're praised for not only their green credentials, but smooth power delivery and awesome torque at almost any speed. But many critics would say that they lack the character and soul of a petrol-powered machine. So I spent a couple of hours riding Zero's top-of-the-range semi-off-roader, the DSR, to find out. Alright, so quick chat about the bike before we get on the road. This is the off-road variant, the DSR, as opposed to the SR, which is the road-going model from Zero. Both the DSR and the SR being the most powerful bikes that they make, but this has got slightly longer travel suspension. I think the bars are a bit higher and wider. You've got a big front wheel. Is that a 19? Yeah, 19-inch front wheel there. And the Pirelli MT60 tyres, and then I believe these off-road foot pegs, possibly some other stuff that I haven't covered there, but yeah, it is suitable for a little bit of trail riding, I guess. So the MT60 tyres there, and then we've got, what's that, Juan brakes there, ABS as you would expect, and it's quite a nice big disc there, big wavy disc. Belt drive down here, same brand of caliper on the rear. And then what else is there to say really? High front mudguard, and we won't really worry about making too much of a mess here because that's super easy to clean compared to a regular motor. And yeah, that's about it really. So reasonable seat height. I think it must be just over 800 mil, but it's easy enough for me to get a foot down, so pretty comfy. Now there's not a great deal going on here. You've got a kill switch and a mode button and a front brake, and then your usual switch gear, but no clutch of course, and no need to start it. As long as the kill switch is on, then you just twist and go. You can choose from eco mode, save you a bit of battery, custom, which you can configure on the app, the kind of characteristics of the power delivery and whatnot, and sport as well, so that would be the most powerful and torquey feel to it. And then, as I say, as long as the side stands up, you just twist and go, which is a really weird feeling at first. You know, you're feeling for the clutch, you're feeling for the gears as well, but you get used to it. And I just really like actually that the delivery of the power is so smooth. With my street twin, my Triumph Street Twin, you know, it's not too bad, but it's still a little bit, with the fuel injection, a little bit choppy on and off the throttle. You don't get any of that with this, of course. I set out on this ride with it in eco mode just because I thought it would give me a little bit of a soft intro to it, and it did feel like almost I was a bit underwhelmed because people hype up the torque of electric bikes, but it's really, really nicely delivered. I can imagine using eco mode around town. As soon as you switch it over to sport mode, you can kind of get the hype that everyone talks about of the just pure torque. But it's a very comfy ride. I like these big wide bars. Like I say, I can get a foot down easily, so the height's not too bad. The seat feels quite far forward, and it's a very cupped seat, so you can't really slide around to adjust that for yourself. But yeah, it's a nice feel. Obviously the lack of engine noise and all that kind of thing takes a little bit of getting used to, but it's just very, very easy to ride, very accessible. It's shower suspension, or Showa, feels quite firm in a good way though. I don't like bikes that wallow around a lot. It's a nice ride for sure, and especially because these are slightly jacked up because of the it being the DSR, so they're off-road bias. There's a bit more travel. Sometimes that can mean it's a bit more boingy, but this is actually totally fine. The brakes are very good as well actually, a single disc up front, which you might think is a bit underwhelming, but it's only a 190 kilo bike and they've got nice bite, very sharp. So yeah, it's a super pleasant ride. The power of 70 horsepower might not sound that much, but the torque is something like 150 newton meters, and I think that's where the real advantage is. And I actually took a little bit of motorway as I was getting out here, and the acceleration at just any speed is great. Like I say as well, as soon as you put it into sport mode, if you twist the throttle, oh my goodness, it just goes. Interestingly, there's no traction control. The dealer said they don't really send people out in the wet because of that. They've had 3 crashed. Spinning it in a circle, pulling out of the dealer, one of them. But if you were riding it in eco mode, you could use that as a rain mode anyway, and as I say, the power delivery is a little bit more tame there, and so that'd probably be ideal if it's wet. This is a bit of straight road here, but I have had a little bit of twisties on the way, and it handles quite nicely. I was meant to take out the SR, which is the road going model, as I've already described. I'd like to see how that feels. I think someone had already taken it out today, and this one had full charge, so the dealer wanted to send me out on this instead. Here we go, up to 60. Oh! And yeah, the big front wheel, the 19-inch, isn't going to really help with the handling, and the MT60s. I would still say it's not bad at all, like it's not a bad bike to ride, but yeah, I would like to find out what that's like, the road going version, because I would imagine it's a fair improvement. But overall, yeah, I'm pretty impressed so far. I know there'll probably be some questions about electric bikes in the comments from a practical perspective, but for me, living in London, I do feel a little bit hypocritical sometimes. We live near some big roads and it makes the air quality so bad right in the area we live in. And so, as I say, I feel slightly hypocritical riding my 900cc noisy petrol bike around. It's not entirely necessary. So I can see the appeal of it from that perspective, and the good thing about living in London as well is that there's a charging point for electric cars right outside the house, and apparently that means you can do a full charge of this bike in about 3 hours, and that'll give you 200 miles of range in the city, and then about half that at highway speeds. But 200 miles for on a 3-hour charge is pretty awesome. I mean, I get about 100 miles out of a tank on my street twin, and I don't really ride it particularly conservatively, but that's actually quite appealing to me. And of course, if you don't have a charging point, this one takes mains as well, and apparently you will need to charge it overnight probably to get a full charge. But 200 miles, I mean, I would only need to do that every couple of weeks really. I'd say the only thing that's a little bit of a drawback for me is it is quite a plasticky feel. I'm sure that's good for keeping the weight down and that kind of thing, but just around the kind of dash doesn't really quite have that kind of premium feel. And of course, with the tech being relatively new, the price is, you know, it's not a budget bike at all, and so maybe you would want it feeling a little bit more premium for that price, but maybe that's something that will come to the market eventually. I know some people like the modern looks of bikes like this, quite angular. Personally, you know, I tend to be more enamored with the bikes that have a retro design and feel to them, and I can't imagine it's going to be long before someone starts putting out a retro shaped bike. I saw like a flat tracker on Bike Exif the other day that was electric, and it just looked absolutely awesome. And the fins on the I guess it was on the battery, you know, it didn't look that far off fins on a cylinder head. So I think there are designs that could possibly make it look a bit more of that aesthetic, but I know that's not for everyone. It's so subjective how something looks, down to personal taste, and I'm sure this will be some people's taste. Here we go. This is not a bad little bit of road, this. Oh, it's very addictive, that acceleration. Whoa! Oh, it's a lot of fun. I'm sure it's not for everybody, and not everyone's ready to move over to electric bikes, but it is undeniably like great fun to ride. It's a different experience really. Like, you do miss the noise a little bit. There's a little bit more nuance to shifting the gears and working the clutch and all that kind of thing. And I like that, you know. it's just a different riding experience, really. I know that on the upcoming Harley Livewire as well, you know, they're going to make it play a sound for safety. Yeah, so that people hear you coming. I think that's a big concern for a lot of people. I don't know why they've not done it with these. And I do wonder, like, realistically, how audible that's actually going to be. I'm going to turn around here. Because it's sort of like the bass frequencies that carry of an exhaust note, isn't it? And I don't know if you can quite replicate that with the speaker. I'll be interested to find out when they do release the Livewire. Oh God. I think it's great that they've, you know, paid attention to fitting like good spec suspension, good spec brakes, decent tires and that kind of thing, because in order to convince people to switch over, you can't really cut any corners there. It's going to have to handle well, isn't it? And it definitely does. Like, I'm super impressed overall. I mean, I can't say that I'll be swapping the Street Twin anytime soon, but in good time, I might consider it. Anyway, that's it for today. I'm just going to take it back to the dealer now, drop it off, and then go and make some noise and emissions on my Triumph. But let me know if you got questions in the comments down below. Love to hear them as always. And what your general thoughts are on electric bikes and the Zero. And if you're new here and you want to see more videos like this, then please do hit subscribe. And hopefully I'll see you in the next video. Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo!